Welcome to the Tech and Accent podcast.
Here you will learn about being an expat, working abroad, technology, and more from no-native English speakers. Let's get into it.
Welcome to another episode of Tech and Accent. Today I have a guest from Barcelona, Joana. Thank you for being here with me today.
Hello, Alekson. Thank you for having me here.
How is your life? How is it going in Barcelona today?
Great. Today was sunny and 18 degrees. So yeah, sun is shining here.
Oh, that's awesome. Here is snow again after 1 month without snow. Like, come on, I thought it was the end and now it's back.
Yeah.
This is the winter of Montreal. So I know you're working from Barcelona. You are working in marketing, right?
Yes, I work in marketing and I have over 15 years experience in this area.
Oh, that's awesome. So today I think tech folks are gonna learn a bit about marketing and also a bit about life in Barcelona too.
Yeah, sounds great. What the heck these people do, right?
Yeah.
I think the tech people are wondering.
Yeah, and it's nice to know how you help us, because without you, we wouldn't have the customers to help with tech. So thanks for the great work that you do.
And thank you very much. It's a teamwork, right?
Exactly. So how about we start by your story from Brazil to where you are today? Could you tell us how was it?
Yes, I think my story on why I got to Barcelona really started when I was 19 years old, quite a few years ago. Let's not really count the years, but I first went to Australia when I was 19 years old. I went there for 6 months to study English, and things went so well, and I really fell in love for Australia that I lived there for a couple of years. So I stopped my uni back then, and I went to Australia for 2 years to learn English, which I was successful in doing so. And then I went back to Brazil, where I finished my studies. I've met my husband. I start working, and you just get dragged in life, just like studying, making sure that you are progressing your career. But I would say that when I lived in Australia, I did get the bug. I was curious about different cultures, learning about different countries, traveling. And then after a few years back in Brazil, and I would say I think around 10 years back in Brazil, me and my husband, we decided that it was time again to go abroad. He's a software developer, so he just needs to raise his hand to get a job. Back then, he's very picky. Actually, he just don't raise his hand. He's really picky with the companies he wants to work for to make sure he will be successful. So back then, he was really into a company that was based in Norway. He applied for the job and he did get a job in Norway. So we went to Norway together, me, my husband, and our 2 lovely cats. I thought would be easy for me in Norway, like it was in Brazil, to get a job. Brazil, it's my comfort zone. That's what I've learned, right? It's the place that I know everybody. I have my network. If I need a job or a recommendation, it was easy to navigate. And when I got in Norway, I don't know why, I thought it would be easy as well, and it was not. So for the very first time in my career, I've been rejected a lot, for 2 years in a row, to be more specific. So I've applied for a lot of different jobs. I went through a lot of interview processes. And even though I am saying that I've been rejected, it was an amazing learning journey as well, about applying to jobs, learning how to pitch about myself in English, learning the ways. And after 2 years, we put a stop to that because we understood that would be very difficult for me as a marketeer to get a job in Norway, especially because as a marketeer, you need to understand about the market, about behaviors, about people, right? And I didn't have the knowledge that the market required there, because I didn't know that much the Norwegian culture, even though during 2 years I was studying and, trying to learn as much as I could. You don't know. So we decided to move to a more diverse and international place in Europe. And then back then I did a research on LinkedIn to see where I would have like a lot of international jobs open, and that would be like a bit more fair for me to get a job. And we decided to move to Amsterdam in the Netherlands. As usual, my husband, he raised his hand and he got a job in the Netherlands. And with that, we flew and moved back and moved to the Netherlands. Me, my husband, and our 2 cats again. We went to the Netherlands, and just so for you to understand, like in Norway, I would have around like 20 jobs opening in Oslo in a month. And in the Netherlands, I would have like 50 new jobs opening every day, right, in the marketing. So there was like many more options. So after 3 weeks in the Netherlands, I got my job, the job that I am until now. So next month, it's going to be 6 years that I am working for the same company. It is an American tech company called ServiceNow. So yeah, 3 weeks later, I did get my job in the area as a marketing manager in this company. And life was good.
I'm just curious before you continue. Is like marketing really a easy area to get a job if you have the experience, when you have the visa and etc.?
Like having the visa, I would say that marketing, it is a more difficult area to get a job compared to the area, my husband's area, for example, like software development. It is a bit more difficult, but it's not impossible. And especially if you search and you go to places where you have like American headquarters that they're trying to do business in Europe. So really thinking about like hubs where you're gonna have these big companies that are really looking for international players, right, for their company. It was not the case of Norway, because they're like more focused. You have, but very few, right? And in the Netherlands, you have more. I did have the visa in the Netherlands from my husband to start with, and I think that was a big door opener in general for the interviews I did and for the job that I got. But after I got the job at ServiceNow, they did apply for my own visa, because the company wanted to make sure that I had a visa connected to them and that I would have all my rights secured. And the company wanted to show that they were taking care of me. So I had to have the visa first, but I also met a lot of Brazilians in the Netherlands that they did get like a marketing job, and the company applied, paid for the visa, sponsored the visa. So it is more difficult, but it's not impossible. And you need to like search for the hubs and the places where you're more likely to get them this.
I asked this because it seems that in Brazil it was really your comfort zone, that was really easy, and then you went to Norway and it was kind of almost impossible, and then you just arrived in Netherlands and it seems that was like Brazil, that was not hard at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that, because it took me 2 years to get to the place, to pass through an interview in Europe, right? So even though it looks that you change the country and then the magic happened, I think there was like a lot of hard work built up in the past couple of years, right? Until I could really reach that point. One thing, a curiosity just to share as well, and I think there's a lot to do with like bring your uniqueness and be your true self. My manager that hired me back then, she did say that she hired me because I didn't fit. Because I had I'm working a B2B company now, in a big tech company, and I had a quite strong B2C background. And she said, I hired you because you're not like an European that would come with the same tactics and ways of tackling the market. You'd come with fresh ways of doing that. So I think it's a set of things that build, for me to get there. A bit of lucky as well, because because I didn't really fit, and especially when you're working with marketing, they're looking for people that understand the market, that understand the local behaviors, right? And what a Latin lady could do in the European market back then, right? I do now have the experience, so you have the respect of understanding that market and supporting the business to grow in a different geo, right, of the world. But I don't think it was easy. It was just the culmination of 2 years of hard work and dealing with frustration, rejection, and keep pushing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, not easy, but not impossible like Norway. And I'm glad you got it. And it's really nice too about the mindset of the manager. That is really something everyone should have. Why always trying always the same? Even in tech, I see this. They always want the same mindset. Why don't you hire someone that has a bit of difference? Let's try to be different, to evolve and to be better. But people are afraid, I think.
Yeah. But I'm happy there are some people open-minded, right? And that they understand to get different results, you need different approaches, right? And that might mean hiring the diversity, right? Because in Europe, I am the diversity, right? I am a Latin woman in a leadership position in a tech company in Europe. So there are many things that I had to, overcome and fight for to prove myself.
Yeah, I'm glad that you got it, and continue in this story. So you were in Netherlands. So how was from there to Barcelona?
Yeah, so things were good in the Netherlands, but we do have a work visa, right? So we are connected to the company that we're working for. And after 5 years in the Netherlands and many of the countries in Europe, you can apply for a permanent residency. But for all the countries, you need to then speak the local language. And even though the Netherlands is a very, very international place, you can really do everything in English. The local language is Dutch, which is a very difficult language, and we haven't learned. We know very few, how to say good morning, good night, thank you, right? Basically in Dutch. So we would never be able to get the permanent residency speaking Dutch, and we were tired of, I don't know, back then it was almost 7 years living in a country that you don't speak the language. In Norway, we were learning Norwegian, but you receive the letters from the government, it's in a language that you don't understand. The signage on the street. So everything around you, it's in a language that says you're not from here, right? So we were ready to move to a country where we understand the language. And I did have, as part of my development plan in the company as well, I would always tell my manager that I wanted to live by the sea again, to a nice beach and have a better weather. When I lived in Brazil back then, we were living in Florianopolis, so it's an island, and I love Australia, so I'm much more under the sun and a beach lifestyle. So then I actually requested for the company that I was working for to move to a country that I would speak the language, and the company was helping us to go to London because I have the headquarters and many of my teammates, they're based in London. And then out of the blue, my husband, he got a job in Barcelona, and the company that I work for, they really supported me to then pivot, and instead of going to London, to move to Barcelona. So they helped us with coming here, and then they applied for my visa, and now I am connected to the company, to the Spanish entity that the company has here. So I moved from the Netherlands to Spain. And that's how things went.
That's awesome. And now you have sun and the beach.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah. And I wish I can have the beach and the sun too. So
don't give up,
day.
Alekson.
Yeah.
Put in your development plans. Think about it. Don't give up. It's coming.
Yeah, it's coming. And I have a question about both countries, Netherlands and Spain. So yesterday I was thinking about the Netherlands because before coming to Canada, I had an interview with a company in the Netherlands. And I remember they said that to become a citizen from the Netherlands, you have to resign the Brazilian one. Is it true or?
Yeah, I think you cannot have dual citizenship. I don't know exactly the details, to be honest, on the Netherlands. What I do know is that even though if you resign your Brazilian one, you can always get back. So Brazil law says that even though you abdicate from your nationality, you can always go back and be a Brazilian back again.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I'm almost becoming Canadian here, so I don't have this problem. But I think in the Netherlands I would have.
Yeah.
And my second question is related to the language. So in the Netherlands, you have to learn the Dutch to be able to be resident. I didn't know that.
In the UK, you have to speak the local language, which would be English. In Norway, would be Norwegian. And I think you don't need to have a C level, right? But you need to have, B1, B2. And then in Spain, the same. And then you need to speak Spanish. And I do speak Spanish, so I could do the test now and we could pass and get the residency here.
That's nice, and maybe I should say sorry for Quebec, because I always complain that they made me learn French to become a permanent resident.
Yeah.
But yeah, makes sense. And today I speak French, so I'm grateful.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
So what was your favorite country of all the ones you have lived?
Yeah, there is a space in my heart for all of them. I'm very grateful, and like I said, I'm very hungry for different cultures and to keep learning and expanding, my notion of the world. But I think the place that I love the most is Australia. I love that country, and it is my favorite place on earth. It's been, over 15 years since I've been there. We're planning to go there next year. And I think I love that place just because I think it's amazing, but I do also believe it was the very first place I went to live abroad for the first time. So I do have this, first love. It was the place that taught me to be independent, where I learned English, and I've learned so many things when I was younger, and that I could really see that I could do more than I ever thought I could. And it's a lovely, beautiful country with amazing weather, and it's great. It's my favorite place.
Yeah, I can imagine. And the weather, I just I have no idea how is the weather there, but I imagine it's the perfect weather.
I would say it's similar to Brazil to one point, a lot of people, they think Brazil is summer the whole year. And if you go to northeast Brazil, that's the case. But if you go to where I'm from Porto Alegre in South Brazil, you really have the 4 seasons, right? So when it's winter, you might not have the snow, but it is quite cold, right? You're gonna have 3 degrees, 5 degrees, so it is winter. And Australia is the same. It's a huge continental country, right? So if you go to South Australia, you're gonna have the weather a bit more chill, not as Canada. I understand that nothing can really reach Norway or Canada and really the Nordics in general. But I went to do the first time I did snowboard and broke my tailbone, by the way. It was in Australia. So I went to do snowboard, and they have one mountain where you have plenty of snow during winter. So Yeah.
I didn't know that they had a snowboard. That's a surprise.
Yeah, they do.
And what was the country that you least liked?
Okay, that's a tricky question. Because like I said, there is like a space in my heart for all of them. Maybe the place that I like, not that I dislike, that I like the least, might be Germany. I don't know, never really hit me that strong. First time I went there, I was a bit shocked on how much money they use. You cannot like use cards, and I don't know. It's not bad. I like Germany, but it's the one that I like the least, I would say.
Okay, but did you live in Germany, or you're
No,
considering
from the ones that I
lived?
lived. Oh, okay,
Yes, yeah.
not. I haven't lived in Germany. I wouldn't live in Germany, as you can probably tell by now. But I think Norway. I would say Norway because it was the best water I ever drank, and it's clean and amazing. But it was the country that I felt quite rejected. It was quite hard for me, to really go through establishing myself as a professional. There was great things, but it was not the best place.
Yeah, I was imagining it would be Norway after the story you told.
Yeah.
So
Love you, Norway. Nothing, no hard feelings. Just, it was not our time.
Yeah. So talking about all the countries now and going back to the marketing, is it do you have a big cultural difference in your area and the way you work in marketing in all the countries, or is it similar to everywhere?
To be honest, especially in the B2B market, I would say it's quite similar when you're selling from a company to another company. Like I work in a big tech company, and when you're selling to other big tech companies, it doesn't really matter too much if you're like in Brazil or in Europe, But I do feel that if you are working a more B2C, business to consumer, you're gonna find some differences in the culture. I don't know, small things, but big. In Norway, they have lunch at 11 in the morning. They're gonna have dinner at 4 p.m., So you need to understand a bit more about the behavior and how people really live in that country to then do marketing, right? But when you're in B2B for big tech companies, I think it's different. So it depends on the size of the business that you are playing, basically.
Mm-hmm. And what is the life of marketing for tech folks that have no idea? I include myself. By the way, I studied digital marketing, but I know there is a big difference in the marketing with digital marketing. So if you could give us a bit of understanding, what is marketing?
Okay, that's a quite broad question, and I think marketing is really there to support, to elevate brands, to build these brands, but also to support generating demand, right, with the right audience that is right for the company, in a nutshell. And at the moment, when you are working in a big tech company, you're gonna have marketing really thinking from the messaging and how things are gonna look like for each of the products that you are trying to sell. You're gonna be working very close to the sales team to understand the accounts they're trying to reach. I think this is something that it's quite different from when you're working in B2C or B2B. Like in B2B in tech companies, you're not just trying to sell for the sake of sell. You know which accounts you want to bring to the business. You know how much you want to sell for these accounts, and then you need to work on how you're gonna create an integrated marketing approach, right, to surround this account and the whole buying center of this account. Because when you're selling a technology, you're selling to the whole buying center. There is no one person that is really doing the buying, right? You're gonna have like a whole set of the team participating in that, and marketing makes sure that we are really like being seen by these people, and that they can easily find the information and engage with us whenever needed. So I think this is strategic approach, and it is about strategic and integrated approach. So digital marketing is a set of strategies in the digital channels, right? So it's going to be social or search engines, and there is other channels that you can use, like live events or roundtables, content production, brand activation, out of home banners and stuff. So I think it's about bringing this integrated approach, right, to surround the accounts and the people that you really want to have business with. Maybe we can have a whole podcast only about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was just thinking, have you done marketing for attracting people? Is it something that exists?
Yes, absolutely. So this is a big part of some of the strategies that I drive in the company, which we call demand generation, right? So we do have a paid approach, but we also have inbound, right, content and activities having to attract people so we can convert them. We make sure that this is we're not just attracting anyone, right? We make sure that we have a very target approach. This is why I was telling about the account approach. So this is something we call in marketing account-based marketing. You know the accounts you want to do, and I'm going to be just spending my dollars to surround these accounts. I don't want to bring the bakery from the corner, right? I want to make sure that I'm bringing like the big supermarket. So it's really about driving this strategy surrounding the accounts that you need.
That is the funny part, because I think the vocabulary of a tech guy like me is a bit different from you. And I did a mistake now because I said people, but people for you is people that you're trying to attract overall. But in my mind, people is like talent, like workers, tech workers. So
so then you're talking about talent acquisition.
Yeah, let's do a campaign to attract, just to make our company good for people that want to work for us. So let's create this campaign to have more talents coming and applying to work. Is there something in the marketing?
Yes, we do have a team that is called brand talent. So it's really like developing campaigns and brand awareness to attract talent to our company. We do also have like some programs, especially at ServiceNow. We are a big platform where we need developers that know how to develop in the platform. So one of the things, we have a program that it's called Rise Up, for example. It lives under marketing, and it's how marketing will support to enable and form over 1 million ServiceNow developers in the next couple of years, because we have so many customers and they need a lot of people that know how to develop in the Now platform. So there is a big demand in the market, and we don't have people that have the skills needed. So we are having this campaign to support that, and this whole program to really teach people to code and develop in the Now platform. So yes, depending on the size of the company, and it is a partnership between marketing and HR, right? Because when you're generating demand for talent, after HR will have to really look into this data and understand how they're going to convert that into talent for the company.
Oh, that's awesome. I never thought about that. And I had in my career, how can we attract more talent for work with us? But I never imagined doing a marketing campaign about that.
Yeah, and sometimes the marketing campaign, it's about making sure that we are top company at Glassdoor, that we are part of the Fortune 500 companies, or that we won great place to work in different countries. So then we can generate a campaign, and then you have the whole employees sharing about, hey, I work in, one of the top 500 Fortune companies, or ServiceNow was a great place to work in the UK, and I work like in the company that is number one for that. So it is a teamwork, right? Because there is a lot of, so we make sure we participate in this kind of activity so we can kind of stamp that we are a good place to work, right?
Yeah, I think this should be shared more with people, and I think the podcast is going to help a lot. Because in tech, folks, they often complain about the great place to work. But now that you talked about this, it's like, okay, it makes a lot of sense, and it's nice to have this great place to work, to have the best to work with us. So,
yeah.
so
And
really nice
it's a
benefit.
survey, right? Of course, there is some people that might work in the company and they don't like the company, right? But most of it is a quite big survey they do to understand the company's standards, right, for a great place to work. Or
And the last question about work is, in the beginning or before, you said that your manager wanted someone with different mindset or different way of thinking.
Yeah.
Do you think she accomplished what she wanted when she hired you? Like, do you think you brought something different to the company that people were not thinking? And because you're Brazilian, you had the differential, and also, if you cannot share the details, feel free to say you can't, but I'm not sure my question was clear.
Yeah, I cannot share like details in some of the things, but yes, I think she's very proud of the achievements we had together, and I'm pretty sure I could implement and support implementing different ways. Simple things for the tech guys. We started to use like a agile board and just use like a Scrum approach in the marketing organization. So we started having the planning and having a way of having better visibility on the activities and the portfolio we were managing. So we had like a board that was a portfolio board, and then we would have retrospectives. So this is something that I brought as new. I was just coming from like a tech company in Brazil, a small company that really sells a lot of the agile mindset and lean mindset. So I was completely brainwashed, and I still am. So I brought that in as something different, for example, for us to manage and bring people along. This is an example.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And shame on the guys that are listening to this and they don't like agile. Like, agile is like amazing. And
yeah, it's debatable, right? My husband, for example, he doesn't like Scrum, and I respect his point of view. We did like a Scrum Bun, and I think whatever you can personalize maybe for your team and just, change some, if it works for your team, good, right? So
I like Scrum. I prefer Kanban, but Scrum.
Yeah, I do Scrum Bun, right? It's a mix of both.
And that's a really big surprise. Like, I didn't expect we were talking about the Scrum Bun or Scrum. That's awesome. How about your free time? What do you like to do in your free time?
So I like running. So this is something that I like doing on my free time, and that I really make sure, not only on my free time, but I really manage my schedule around my runs. So I love running and reading and going to the beach. So I think these are things that I like a lot.
If it was not the running, I would say we like the same thing. But
Yeah.
I think I'm too heavy for running.
I am heavy as well, but I like it, and I'm a slow runner and I enjoy. Yeah. It is a challenge for me. I don't do it just because it's like, oh, I love it, or like I love it, but it's not because it is easy, something that comes natural. I do it because it challenges me, and I'm an overthinker, and I talk a lot, as you probably noticed. So it's something that really kind of centers me, and it's a moment that I really need to be very present with my body. Otherwise, I cannot do it, because it really takes a lot of energy for me. And that's the why I love it.
Yeah, I understand. I used to have this feeling, but now I think I'm 12 kilos more, and it's really heavy for me, like my knees.
Yeah.
By the way, we have a question in this podcast that is classic. We do in every episode. That is, what was your most embarrassing moment living abroad?
I have quite a few sad and funny ones, so I'm gonna pick a funny one because I like to see the bright side of life in general. So I would say it was embarrassing, but it was funny as well. So when I was 19 years old, and I was, I think, like a couple of weeks or so in Australia, and I went there to learn English. Even though since like I was a kid, I would learn English in school, I was terrible with languages, And I think when you are in school, or at least that was my experience, you learn a very robotic English, right? So like people would say, oh, how are you, right? So one fun fact is that one day I was, two fun facts actually, and both happened in the bus. So I was going to my English course in Australia, and then I entered the bus, and the bus driver said, how's it doing? And then I'm like, I'm doing nothing. Because I knew how are you? I didn't know how's it going? How you doing? I didn't know that. How's it going? Like going to school, right? And actually he was just asking me, how are you? So I've learned that. And there was another very funny one. So for the Brazilians out there, I was in the bus, and this lady, she sneezed beside me. And then I look at her and I said, cheers. Because in Portuguese, when you sneeze or when you toast, you say the same thing, which would be saúde, right? In Portuguese. So she sneezed, and I thought I should say the same. So rather than saying bless you, I look at her and said cheers. And she laughed so much on my face. And then she taught me that, so she understood, right? Hey, another expat in Australia, let me talk her something. So then she said, oh, you should not say cheers. It's like bless you. So it was quite embarrassing, but funny, and a learning moment.
Okay, so now you said that, and I remembered something. I was in Dublin learning English, and I was in an intermediate class, and there was another Brazilian, and someone did exactly the same, and the Brazilian said cheers, and then the teacher of English, like, he saw that and he started laughing, but he couldn't stop laughing, and like, okay, you're the teacher and you're laughing, and he had an attack, like, no stop. And the Brazilian guy was really mad, like, why is he laughing?
Embarrassed, right? Yeah, stop laughing about me.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
so
sure
funny.
if I invited him, he would bring the story. It was really funny, by the way. And I'm glad that he did that, because I didn't need to say cheers to someone, because I learned.
Yeah, you didn't have to go through the embarrassing moment of learning that truth in English.
Yeah, that another thing that I learned in that class is that I don't know if it's common, but in Canada I heard a lot. When someone has birthday, Brazilians say congratulations, and the same teacher said it's not congratulations. Yeah, they didn't achieve anything. It's happy birthday. So because that teacher, I don't say congratulations.
Interesting. I didn't know that. I would say, usually I say happy birthday, but congrats.
Yeah, maybe it's right in another place in the world. I don't know.
I think when you are an expat or every day in life, I had a manager that would say every day is a school day. So he was super humble, saying that every day he was learning something, and I agree that in life, and especially when you're like speaking a second or third language, even though you might speak very well already, and there's always something that you learn. So every day it's a school day.
Yeah, that's a nice mindset. How about your goals for this year?
Okay, yeah. So, I think after a few years being quite driven in my career, this year my goal is really for myself. And my goal for this year is to run a half marathon in October 26 in Valencia. So I have a date, I already registered, and I'm training to get my first 21K running.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So this is my goal, and read 15 books. So I have these two goals, which of course running the half marathon involves doing strength training, right? So I'm lifting weights, I'm doing the runs, and there is a whole set of exercises to get ready, and then keep my reading. So this year my goal is 15 books. Let's see.
I just had a new question in my mind, and what would be the 3 books that you would recommend for someone?
Okay.
That's a good one.
3 books, okay. Oh
You
my
can say
God.
2 if it's hard to read.
So I just finished, it's not here, but I just finished to read the tetralogy from Elena Ferrante, My Brilliant Friend. So I think it's 4 books from this Italian writer. Elena Ferrante is her pseudonym. Nobody really knows who she is. And she writes like novels, historiographical novels. So it's based on things that really happen, and really tells a lot about the history of women and women's rights. So I'm a very strong feminist. So I really recommend reading the 4 books. Talks about the story of these 2 friends and how they navigate history as a woman since the 60s until now, the 2000 something. So very good reading that I would recommend. And maybe a reading that I did, I think a couple of years ago, which is Clara and the Sun. So now that AI is, super hype and stuff, I think it's a book that talks about an artificial friend. And it's a book that is really narrated by the AF, the artificial friend perspective. So it's not a human, it's really like this machine, or, talking about this experience. It was a Nobel winner book. And I think it's a fiction novel, but I think it brings some perspective, makes you think, and very connected to the AI that is all around us.
Yeah, that's a nice one. And I heard about this book before.
Yeah, it's a very good one.
And do you have a question that you think I should answer in this podcast?
Okay, a question that you should, I haven't thought about it, but I don't know, you did share, actually I was gonna ask about your embarrassing moment, but you already shared one, not yours actually. So which is your embarrassing moment? Have you already shared in the podcast, or would that be a first?
In the one that I interviewed, I shared that I think it was the moment of the firefighters, that I made all the building of 20 floors go down because I touched the sensor of the fire, and because I touched it seems like fire, so the alarm came and 4 trucks of firefighters came, and I was the one responsible for that. It was really embarrassing. But I have another one for the people that know this story, and it's the language too. Like, I was in my first month here, I wanted to take a shower, and like it was my first day in the apartment that I rented, and it was like the shower with the bath. So if you don't pull the pin, the water doesn't come from the shower, it comes from the bath down. It's hard to show this for people that doesn't know, but I couldn't take a shower. Like, okay, it's broken. And then I called the guy that was renting from me. It was an American old guy. And I said, hey, how do I take a shower here? And then he said, enter the shower, look at the wall, and start the shower. Like, I think he thought I was like not intelligent or something like that. Like, he probably thought like, oh, this guy is coming from Brazil. He's from the jungle.
He never saw a shower before.
And then I made him come to the apartment, and then he just pulled the pin and like, okay, here it is. Like, come on.
I know this is so like now expected behavior, right, for us, but like I think it makes no sense, at least in my mind, that you need to like pull the pin for the shower to, now it makes sense because I know that's how things are in Europe and as I can hear in Canada as well, but like makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, that was my second embarrassing moment.
And I think we could have an episode only about embarrassing moments because they're endless, right? I have like others I was sharing with Walmyr before, which one should I say? Because I have quite a few. So that's the life of the expat, right? Endless embarrassing moments and learning opportunities.
Yeah, and life shouldn't be too serious, so we should be laughing about ourselves more often.
Absolutely, yeah.
Joana, do you have any final message that you would like to share to the public?
I don't know. Thank you for having me here today, and maybe on the name of the podcast, Tech and Accent, right? This is something that I've learned a lot. It is part of an expat and international teams, the accent beat. And maybe this is more a message for my Brazilian friends, because I do see a lot of people more like beating themselves up because my English is not perfect or because I do have an accent or so on. And I'll say just be proud of your accent and, show up. Don't just like be shy and think that you are less because you have an accent. When you work in Europe, for example, you're going to have very international teams and you're going to see that each country has its accent, the Spanish, the French, the Germans, and so on. And it is part of people that speak more than one language. So be proud of your accent and keep pushing.
That's an awesome message. And it reminds the message we are always talking about, that is, if you have an accent, it means you speak more than one language.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So thanks a lot, Joana, for sharing your story. It's an amazing story, and I see you next time.
Yeah, thank you for having me. See you.
Bye.
Bye.
This podcast was edited by Ralf Carneiro.